Yep. Hi everyone, and good morning. I'm just going to wait until we're just going to wait until 10:04 to get started, just to give everyone a chance to log in. So Kylie, Ian, for some reason I can only see 3 attendees, and which is the 3 of us. So I'm just going to find if there's some of our team members who are in green and send a link to make sure that link is working. I used the link to get in here, so it should work. But that seems strange.
Would the invite have changed in their actual Outlook calendar, Paul, when we changed the details?
No.
It might be worth joining that call, mate, quickly.
I am there. Yes, I am there.
Oh, there's nobody on that either.
There was 3 in there, so but it already there was a link there to say join this one.
Okay, great.
So let me see if we have some peers that we can send this to.
I think we've got 3 attendees, Paul, so separate to us.
That's us, I think.
At least in mine.
No, it's not. I've got one of the partners I'm working with is on the call now.
Okay, fantastic. Cool, let's get started then, and we can record. We are recording it anyway, and then we can share it later.
Okay. Did you want to try the meetup, or we'll kick off?
Done that already.
Okay, excellent, thank you. So welcome all to our Modern Workplace series. So today we have Ian Hurd joining us. So Ian is the Microsoft Managed Desktop Lead for Microsoft Australia. My name's Carly, I'm a Modern Workplace Specialist here at Microsoft, and joining and running this series with me is Paul Christensen, who's our Modern Workplace Architect, who's usually based at our MTC facility in Sydney CBD.
Thank you, Carly. Again, today we have the luxury of having Ian Hurd to share with us the benefits of Microsoft Managed Desktop. For me, that is around how do I increase the experience for my staff, how do I increase productivity, increase security, all wrapped up in a fantastic service from Microsoft and our partners. So we'll hear from Ian Hurd today, and then we'll go into question and answers in the end, and also share some of the next cool engagements that we are having around business continuity with Kylie Scott Murphy, and then security with Oscar Gonzalez. But let us hand it over to Ian for Microsoft Managed Desktop today. Ian.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it, and thanks to you and Carly for providing me the opportunity to talk today. It's about a topic obviously very close to my heart, which is Microsoft Managed Desktop. It's been a great journey. You know, I'm very fortunate in Microsoft that I've been with the business just under 4 years, and in that time I've been part of teams that have launched everything into the market from Microsoft 365 E5, which is, you know, just been a fantastic platform for our customers to really help accelerate their desktop environments, help them accelerate their employee experience, but also accelerate things like their security posture and transform the way that they collaborate. So that was a great journey. I'm also very fortunate to be on things like I love communicating on Teams, because I was fortunate enough to be on the launch team of Microsoft Teams. And then 2 years ago, we embarked on this journey around Microsoft Managed Desktop. And Microsoft Managed Desktop for us is all about operationalizing the benefits of everything that's come before it, everything around Microsoft 365, and really helping customers transform their desktop experience. So wind the clock on 2 years, you know, we've had a great 2 years, you know, listening to our customers, understanding the desktop management market. You know, fortunate that here in the Australia and New Zealand region, which I represent, we've had some, you know, fantastic initial lighthouse customers. I think we've got now over 15 customers on Microsoft Managed Desktop, and also the breadth of those customers. We've been very strategic in terms of our engagement with those customers, and making sure that we're investing deeply in them to make them successful across everything from financial services to government to utility organizations, legal organizations, etc. So it's been a really great couple of years as we've worked in deep partnership with our customers to get to where we are today with Microsoft Managed Desktop. So really looking forward to sharing some of that with you. In terms of what we'll cover today, really focused on 4 key areas. Number one, give you a bit of background as to how we arrived at this thing called Microsoft Managed Desktop. Give you a good overview of what it is and what the impact that our customers are seeing as a result of a move to Microsoft Managed Desktop. Also some insights around the journey that our customers are going on to get to Microsoft Managed Desktop, and then talk to you about some of the next steps from there. So it's going to be a pretty fast and furious 35 minutes. Stay with me. Paul, I think we've got an opportunity to put some chat, to put some questions in the chat window for those participants. So please do ask some questions. I'll pick those up at the end, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, please do. Chat is open, so please do ask any questions there. And Ian said we'll try to see if it fits into the conversation, or we'll take them in the end.
Fantastic. Yeah, look, Paul, if there are any pertinent ones, jump in there. Maybe at the end of each one of these blocks, I'll take a pause and we can cover them off there. Sounds great. So let's maybe go back to why we came around with this thing called Microsoft Managed Desktop, or for the purposes of today, MMD. You know, I think for those who know Microsoft well enough, we love a good acronym. So let's stay with MMD for the rest of this presentation. Save some words from me, which I'm sure you'll all be happy about. But MMD started off with Satya and his leadership team going to a number of our key strategic customers across the world and listening to them. And one of the things that there was a constant repetitive discussion was, we really like where you're going with Microsoft 365. We really get why you're in this market, and our best place to deliver services around the desktop, around productivity, around collaboration, around security, and some of the analytical insights for things like Power BI, My Analytics, etc. But that's all great, but the reality is that we've got a massive issue on our desktop. You know, we've got a big challenge, and it's typically revolving around our traditional SOE environments. You know, we want to see our desktop work like our mobile. Our mobile is easy to deploy. It starts up straight away. It's always up to date. The battery lasts forever, and you know, they rarely crash. And it doesn't matter whether I'm in the office, out of the office, my experience is the same. If we compare that to where we are with our desktop today, and actually some of the figures here are around what we've said is commercial average. The reason we're sharing this commercial average is this is actually based on the commercial average performance of our Surface range, which for those people who use Surface will know that this is actually, in reality, the real market case is far worse. Market average is far worse, because Surface, firstly, is a fantastic experience, but secondly, supports N-2 releases of Windows 10. So this is the commercial average for people supporting the last 2 releases of Windows 10. Obviously, an awful lot of customers out there are using much older versions of Windows 10, and the performance is significantly worse. Coupled with that, you know, for the reasons I mentioned shortly, people who aren't using Surface are typically more likely to use multiple security agents, etc., etc. So the real position here is far worse that we're seeing in the marketplace, and that is, you know, things like boot time on average take best part of a minute and a half. We're hearing stories also of a lot more than that. I'll talk to you later a bit about what the work that we've been doing with Lloyds Bank, but they were recording boot times of north of 10 minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes as their old desktop environment kind of whirred away and provided them with their desktop experience. Time to update devices, and again, I'll talk about why this is shortly. We're seeing obviously a large elongation of time to update, you know, of feature updates, and that obviously has a significant impact. And the feature update that we're hearing is typically because of just the complexity around updates. The complexity of the desktop experience is leading to significant reduction in screen-on battery life. Now, I know through looking at my using my Surface that I can keep my Surface Pro. It typically runs north of 7 hours a day without needing a recharge. But the screen-on battery life on commercial average is 3.2 hours. And crashes per year are around that, nearly 6 crashes per year. And that all of this has a big detrimental effect on customers, whether it's an employee experience, whether it's the high unpredictability leading to extended operational costs, security vulnerabilities through not running the latest version of Windows 10, the poor velocity of new features being released, even down to things like screen on battery life, which, you know, you kind of go, yeah, well, 3.2 hours is fine, you know. Okay, it's, you know, people can find a charging point every 3.2 hours, or maybe not, depends how mobile your fleet is. But there's a second part here that we realized through talking to one of our major financial services customers is actually if the battery life is half of what it should be, then the power consumption is twice what it should be. And the next thing of that is that the reason that that's wearing away is high CPU usage. And actually that high CPU usage means that you need to overspec your devices. So there's a significant hard cost behind that mobility statement. And then the last thing around crashes per year, look, that's a massive frustration, but it's also a massive operational overhead for our customers. We're hearing some crazy statistics about first line end user support numbers that are coming through as a result of device crashes. So we looked at all of that and said, look, why is this? And let's maybe take a step back to where we are in the market today. I often liken many of our customers that they're in a hybrid IT hell. I think the technology market has done a disservice to our customers in not helping them transform quick enough. We've said that hybrid IT is a good solution. I'm here to say I think it's a really bad solution for our customers. I think we should be helping accelerate even faster to the cloud. And the reason being, and I think for many this journey will be really telling, especially through the unique times that we're in today as a result of COVID-19, where mobility is an absolute necessity and flexibility is an absolute necessity, that we take a step back to the traditional workforce model, and that is work in the office, where you could sit there and your identity, your devices, your apps, your data, they were all in your nice data center. You could see the lights whirring, you could see the devices on the desktops, you knew they were there, and everybody was fine. And then typically what you did is you secured that environment around your network perimeter. And then what you did is you built this thing called the Windows 10 SOE, which took all of that stuff and represented it into your desktop around a single release. But something major changed. And what the major thing that changed is that this person went outside of the perimeter and the model broke. Because firstly, their identity was outside of the perimeter, but the next thing that was outside the perimeter was many of the applications and many of the resources that they require to do their day-to-day work. And I'm sure you've heard Microsoft talk about this before, about identity being the new perimeter. It is essential to secure the identity. Assume that you're going to be penetrated, but then you can't do anything with the once you've penetrated that unless you've also penetrated the identity. And so we've seen all of this. So this explosion of apps, things like Salesforce.com, even things like SAP, HANA, Workday, et cetera, all out now delivering cloud-first services. But most organizations are still building their SOE around an on-prem logic, and that's a massive challenge. And we're seeing that, we've especially seen that over the last few months, where we've been in, especially in the first couple of, first probably 30 days of the big push to work from home, or the big push towards the new norm, where customers were going, God, this SOE just isn't fit for purpose to be able to enable 100% of our staff to work outside the office. It still requires VPN access into core resources inside the network, but actually we've also already got the security agents that are on premise today, meaning that our routing of traffic of everything, including cloud services, has to go via our core network environment. And this is without a doubt turning into a big challenge. And to solve this, Microsoft for the last 7 years since Office 365 came about, have been advocating a move to the cloud. A move to the cloud for everything, whether it's Office 365, as I mentioned, which I'm sure you know and love, your identity with Azure Active Directory, Microsoft Intune for your core management of your platform, and obviously now Windows 10 being a release that we've really built for a mobile and cloud-first world. And with that holistic platform now, we're receiving a level of diagnostics, telemetry, and insights at a level that we've never seen before. It is the largest enterprise data lake the world has ever seen. And with that, we're in a unique position now with Microsoft Managed Desktop to really understand the performance of these devices, the performance, the threats that are going on in customers' environments and other customers' environments, and really been able to drive a level of insight that the world has never seen before around the desktop experience. There's a reality here, is that today desktops are being managed, although we're in this cloud-first world, the reality is our desktops are being managed with on-premise logic. You know, if we look at the benefits of the cloud, it's always up to date. It's dynamic feature updates. You know, it's standardized configuration, so you can do at-scale innovation. It really enables you to focus on things that are focus away from things that are non-core of your business to things that you can differentiate. And it's got that linear pricing model, which enables you to innovate as standard, but also scale up and scale down according to the dynamics of your organization. Compare that to traditional desktop management, and it's almost the polar opposite, where you're building an SOE for irregular updates. You're supporting a patchwork quilt of security and desktop agents often, and a security vulnerability as a result, because you've got all of these different agents lined up that you're having to run your own custom baseline that no other customer in the world has. And it's really hard to update and very expensive to update, and leading to significant unpredictable update and change management costs. So, and this has become, as I said, even more polarized as we look at the remote work requirements as a result of coronavirus. And one thing I will leave you with before I go into Microsoft Managed Desktop is that everything we have built MMD around is built for a mobile and remote working experience, or a work from anywhere experience. It works inside your corporate network and outside of your corporate network seamlessly with direct access to the cloud. So what is Microsoft Managed Desktop? I'll take a pause there. Any questions at this stage, Paul? That was the, if you like, the introduction to where we are. No?
No questions, Ian.
Thanks, Carly.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's just build this up. So Microsoft Managed Desktop builds on the foundations that are provided by, firstly, the Microsoft 365 platform that I've mentioned before. So the best of Windows 10, the best of Office 365, and our enterprise mobility and security capability. That provides us the foundations, the insight foundations, and the technological foundations to deliver our service. On top of that is the experience around a modern device. And when we say modern device, this is one of the large benefits of the telemetry that we receive and the diagnostics that we receive from the billion-plus Windows 10 devices across the world. We're able to absolutely identify which devices are the best performing devices and most secure devices in the market today, and we certify those devices as being right for Microsoft Managed Desktop. Today that goes across 4 key vendors. Obviously one of them is Surface, and you know, as I'm sure you know from Microsoft, we always advocate that the best possible experience is Microsoft on Microsoft. So Microsoft Surface using the Microsoft 365 platform. We also support our OEM partners, Dell, HP, and Lenovo, which I'm sure I think accounts for probably about 90, together accounts for over 95% of the Australian enterprise market. So we have great vendor coverage there for any modern device experience. From a Microsoft Managed Desktop perspective, then we focus in really 4 key areas that deliver that really unique user experience, which I'll touch upon shortly. Firstly is remote default. So it's actually built for the remote world, built for mobile working. Second, expert security. Third, always up to date. And the fourth, actionable insights. So maybe let's dig into that and what that means from an MMD lifecycle perspective. And maybe if I can take you on this journey. So I mentioned before the curated device list that we run. And by the way, if you're taking nothing else out of today, this is a curated device list that we publish on our service description in MS Docs. Please do go on there and have a look at those devices. If those devices are on that list, then I would suggest that they're the devices that you probably want to look for your own enterprise deployments. Once we have that curated device list and we onboard the customer via Autopilot, so your device partner as I said, whether that's Surface or one of our OEM partners, will identify that specific SKU as an MMD SKU in effect. They will then register that device into our MMD portal for you as the customer, meaning that when your user receives that device with zero IT intervention, they can log in via autopilot, and all of their credentials or their, if you like, image, even though we said it's an imageless environment, but their very clean desktop image comes down to them, along with all of their applications from Intune, which is curated against their specific user profile. So as I said, no requirement there for IT intervention. The second piece is always up to date. So again, because of the vast diagnostics and telemetry that Microsoft receive across those billion-plus Windows 10 devices across our Microsoft 365 platform, we instinctively know which one of your applications, whether they're off the shelf or all line of business applications, work in your environment, will work with future Windows 10 updates. That might be a big pause for those people who've been on constant SOE release cycles over the years, but let me put that in context. With Windows 10, we are now, our goal is for 100% compatibility of applications from one version of Windows 10 to the next. The only time that it wouldn't be, or the only time that we target that it wouldn't be compatible is because of security vulnerability. And during the life cycle of Microsoft Managed Desktop, we provide event management services to update our customers on vulnerabilities that we identify within their applications down to a specific code line level. With that, we'll continue to coordinate and communicate with the customer, and leveraging Microsoft Desktop App Assure, we will help them transform their applications to become more security compliant for the future. If for any reason, as a result of a change, so as a result of rolling out the next version of Windows 10, which we do in a ringed rollout process from test, first, fast and broad rings, if at any stage during that update cycle that we identify an issue or you identify an issue in your application set, we'll wind back the version of Windows 10 and again work with Desktop App Assure to go fix your apps. In fact, what we'll do if it's not a security vulnerability is our first port of call will be to go fix Windows. And this is something that's just so unique. This application compatibility guarantee is something that is so unique to Microsoft Managed Desktop and can only be delivered by Microsoft Managed Desktop. Mentioned there before about the actionable insights. Again, because of and one of those insights obviously being the application compatibility guarantee and the way that we event manage your application suite based on all of the telemetry and diagnostics we receive across our environment. But we also have additional other actionable insights. We can break down everything to elements that are affecting your customer boot time. We can identify user experience insights, and we are building on this insight platform more and more because Microsoft Managed Desktop is built on a cloud-first platform, leveraging Microsoft 365. The level of insights and data that we receive that we can turn into actionable insights is incredible today and increasing all the time. From a security perspective, we also what we've done is bringing all of the benefits from our global security operations center down to a customer level. So I think many of you know the deep investment Microsoft have had across our security portfolio. Everything across the Microsoft 365 E5 security platform, and the unique insights that we're bringing through our Microsoft Security Graph to be able to deliver AI-infused security experiences that are second to none anywhere in the world, with us now ranking in the Gartner leadership quadrant for many of those security items like advanced threat protection and MCAS, etc. What we do with Microsoft Managed Desktop is, as I said, take that down to a customer level where our SOC is supporting your environment. And I'll give you a really great example of that. And that's so if we look, there was a 0-day vulnerability identified in Windows, I believe back in January. That was identified on the Friday a patch for it was released on Patch Tuesday. On average, our customers, about 40% of our customers across the world have issued that patch. And that's, what's that now, 5 months later. On a Microsoft Managed Desktop endpoint, whereas the rest of our customers received a Patch Tuesday notification to identify, to inform them of the patch, Microsoft Managed Desktop customers received a notification that their devices had been updated. So we were able to, we were working with our security teams. We had completely aligned with them. We understood the patch. We fed into the patch. We provided insight around that, and we applied the patch to our customers at the same time as the patch was becoming available to every other customer who wasn't being provided Microsoft Managed Desktop. And as I said, only around 40% of them have actually applied that patch since January. So that ability to keep your devices always secure and always up to date are crucial. Coupled with that, we run a standardized security baseline, which enables us to run agent-free. So you may be saying, well, there are specific areas that maybe Microsoft 365 E5 don't provide us with today. So we take a common sense view on that. Our goal and belief is that we can manage any desktop environment. But we do recognize that maybe in certain instances, I mentioned things like, say, the FSI market or government market, that there are some very specific compliance requirements. We will look at that, as I said, using a common sense barometer. But our ultimate goal is to enable your desktop to run security agent free, leveraging the Microsoft 365 E5 security stack. That enables us to offer a unified baseline with unified update cycles to be able to keep you always on the latest version of Windows 10, so you don't have to go through these unpredictable SOE release cycles. And the other big difference really with this service versus any other desktop managed service in the marketplace is one of the things I come from the managed service and outsourcing marketplace, and you know, one of my customers recently said to me, they said the big difference with Microsoft Managed Desktop and anything else out there in the market is that Microsoft Managed Desktop is always up to date and always innovating. We're using cloud logic around the managed service, and we have made over 120 different service updates in the past 2 years to Microsoft Managed Desktop. The likening that this customer had to a standard way of delivering managed services is that the only time that really you're up to date is the day that you sign the contract. And that service is the same on day of signature than day of exit, you know, 5 years or 7 years later often. The second part is that we use cloud logic for the commercial model, where we align it to the terms of your enterprise agreement. So you're charging a price per user per month model. So as a result, there are no hidden costs, no big change management overhead. This is just a flat rate that enables you to scale up to Microsoft Managed Desktop. All of those, that capability that I've mentioned there is under something we call Microsoft Managed Desktop, or MMD IT as a service. So providing the best, most secure and always up-to-date user experience with actionable insights. What we've also have is really a unique foray for Microsoft into the customer support services market. So for customers who are happy for Microsoft to run a standardized end user support desk, then we provide it with customer support services, where we provide 24/7 first line end user support. And then we provide resolver group escalation for obviously any Microsoft 365 related issue, because of the unique insights we have into your tenant environment. And then for any other applications, so only because it's an awful lot of people have it, let me pick on SAP. If you have an SAP related issue, obviously every SAP instance, just because of the nature of ERP, is different customer by customer. So we would escalate, we would take that first line call, we'd be able to see if SAP, you're on the right version of SAP and it was performing well in your Windows 10 environment. So we'd be able to say, you know, maybe you just want to do a quick reboot there or something like this. But for anything more fundamental, down to a button click, issue, we would escalate that to your resolver group, whether that's in-house or maybe you're using a managed service or outsourced partner today. So as I said, this customer support service is an option that we deliver through MMD. Many of our customers like it because it gives them that ability for Microsoft to manage their Microsoft 365 environment. Some customers haven't gone that direction, and it's typically because their first line maybe encompasses more than desktop support. Maybe they like rooms to be booked through there. Maybe they want a unified support desk for their Windows devices, their mobile devices, and maybe other devices, maybe like MacBooks and things like this. So there are reasons why customers go to the CSS option, and reasons that they don't. But hence why we have it as an option on top of the foundational MMD IT as a service option, which I've walked through. So in terms of what we've seen and the benefits that we've seen MMD bring to our customers, I like to use this this data that actually a colleague of mine, Andrew Lowson, to give him the kudos for this. This isn't my slide. He was working with or was listening to an update from MIT, and MIT really have unpicked, through speaking to multiple organizations out there in the marketplace, this thing that I think we always knew but could never really quantify, and that is that the user experience of your employees is equal to the customer experience you provide and the customer satisfaction you provide. And obviously, as a result of that, there's a large knock-on to profitability. And what we're really seeing the benefit of MMD is around areas like digital talent, attraction, development, and retention. The ability to increase productivity and the accelerated insight and decision making that we're seeing from our customers, having that much more flexible, remote work first mentality around their organization. And obviously, it expands the talent net for many of our customers. It means that they can work from anywhere, and certainly, as again, consulting with many of our customers over the last few months, that's just going to be such an important strategic imperative as they go forward. Not to force their employees to come into CBD locations on crowded trains, or even enable their employees to move out of condensed living environments towards the CBD because of that commute requirement, to maybe moving to other places in Australia and maybe even wider. And you remember that I shared with you this slide around why my desktop doesn't work. Why doesn't my desktop work like my mobile? Well, maybe let's compare this to what we're seeing with MMD. So what we're seeing with MMD is a significant improvement in performance on the desktop environment. We are able to deliver ease of deployment. Absolutely starts up immediately. In fact, what we're seeing is a 74% reduction in commercial average boot time down to 23 seconds. I have a customer at the moment running 17 seconds with the latest Surface devices, so that figure's coming down all the time. And all the time we are working, we have a team within MMD that literally gets up in the morning focused on driving down that boot time as low as we can. The next part is time to update. And we're now on a 9-day update cycle to update 95% of devices in our fleet. I mentioned our ability to roll back. We haven't had to roll back to any of our customers globally a Windows 10 version to date because of the power of our ability to event manage application modernization and application compatibility for future versions of Windows 10. So our ability to, as I said, offer those patches, offer those feature updates within, on average, 9 days of release to all 95% of users is a massive change for the market. I mentioned before about the importance of battery life, not just in terms of mobility of workforce, but also power consumption and also the ability to reduce the specification requirements of your desktop. We're seeing battery life now move to battery life that is advertised out of the box, so native battery life experience. a 238% increase in how long the battery lasts. And the crashes per year reducing down to 1.5 crashes a year from 5.8, again, a 74% reduction. And I would say that this is in the first 2 years of the service. These figures will only get better as we work closer and closer with our teams across the Microsoft 365 stack. As our insight levels move up more and more and more, we're looking to get these figures better all the time. In fact, I had this slide from 4 months ago, and the time to update 95% of devices was up at 17 days. So we are improving that all of the time, and I mentioned there the boot time improvements as well. From an employee experience perspective, it's I'll be honest with you, I was a bit of a naysayer on this. I often in my head I was like, yeah, look, seriously, do you really get happier because your boot time moves from 5 minutes down to 23 seconds? Is it really that important? And then we engage Qualtrics, who are an external agency who look at who have interviewed a number of users within our customers, our MMD customers, and interviewing those who are using MMD versus not using MMD. And the responses that came back were just incredible. In fact, one of the great interviews actually online is Brad Anderson, our corporate vice president for Microsoft 365, interviewing Lloyds Banking Group, and talking about the extreme net promoter score increases they've seen as a result of the adoption of Microsoft Managed Desktop and the employee experience gains there. But you can see the figures here on the right-hand column. As a result of us providing this just a really great performing device that you can work anywhere, that's always up to date, we're able to ensure that employees are 15% more engaged, they're feeling more valued by their company, significantly more valued by their company. Their net promoter score just shoots up. And what we found with the net promoter score is that the net promoter score from MMD customers in general is higher than market average, and we were able to raise that bar by 55 points on average more. Customers become, or employees become, more proud to work for their company, and they're more likely to recommend their company as a place to work to friends. So all of these things are just so vital for all the reasons I mentioned before. The UX equals CX equals dollars. That ability to attract, retain, develop the best staff and digital staff is going to be just such a huge imperative. And look, who would have thought desktop experience would have played such a large cornerstone? One of my customers that I was talking to actually said that MMD is now a key pillar in their cultural transformation and everything that they're trying to achieve. Through those performance benefits also, we're seeing significant operational impact. And you can see the figures there on the left-hand side. What's interesting is even customers who don't go with our customer support option or end user support option see their help desk calls reducing by 35%. This data actually comes from a Forrester impact report that I've actually got the link to at the end of this deck. But you can see here the significant operational impact that we're seeing as a result of going with Microsoft Managed Desktop. Primarily, this is around the IT as a service option. So what we're seeing here is a deep operationalization of the benefits of Microsoft 365. It enables you to really accelerate your time to value around your Microsoft 365 E5 investment. Helps you move away from that legacy security estate that you have, and really start transforming your operational structure for a cloud-first world and repurposing these people on areas that can make your business different and competitive in the future. Okay, so they're the benefit. That's what MMD is, and they're the benefits of MMD that we're seeing in the first 2 years of us having this in the Australia and New Zealand market. Maybe if I can share with you how we're seeing our customers move to MMD. The first is we work with our customers on obviously onboarding their tenants and preparing for MMD, whether it's working with their internal IT teams or their partners to be ready for those MMD prerequisites around Azure Active Directory, making the move to Intune, onboarding onto Office 365 and leveraging the Microsoft 365 E5 security stack, specifically around advanced threat protection. We then onboard the tenant, and we typically go into a first wave of devices where we make sure that the network configuration is set up correctly, you've got the right internet access, etc., and we've got the right conditional access policies. And we then roll that out to usually an initial wave of MMD insiders in your organization, just to ensure that customers are completely sure around their end user experience. Where we've typically seen this work really well is to onboard it very quickly and get that user acceptance testing coming through the gate really quickly. It doesn't have to be a lengthy process. You know, I'm going through a deployment at the moment with a major manufacturing customer, and they were saying, look, ultimately what we want is not for this to be some huge change management process. Actually, it's just a better performing desktop experience, and that's what customers really love. They don't need to be retrained in a big way. We then roll out to the first wave of basic information workers, because we recognize that there are some complex apps out there. There are with every customer. You know, we're onboarding a customer right now with 12,500 applications that we managed to get down to through Windows Analytics, managed to get down to about 1,200 active applications. So we recognize out of that there are going to be some that need modernizing, and we've engaged our desktop app assure team to work with the customer around modernization of those apps, repackaging them into, working with a partner to repackage those into Intune. But certainly what we're finding is the basic information worker profile using modern applications is typically 50 to 60, maybe even 70 to 80% of personas in a customer environment. With those with those heavier application users, those more advanced information workers, taking up about 10 to 15%, and then about 5% of that use case being real niche user personas, things like developers, shared desktops, etc. So this is really the evolution that we're seeing moving to Microsoft Managed Desktop. Only you will know how large a challenge is for you to move in this direction. What I would say is my experience is it's never as hard as you think. It's you know, typically the feedback we've had on Windows 10 migrations is we've been surprised. You know, we've set aside budget for things like application modernization that hasn't been required. But certainly we would love to work with you on identifying what this migration journey looks like to MMD. And so really for today, that was it. I hope it provided you with a good overview of MMD. You know, some of the benefits we're seeing there, some of the differentiation we're seeing in the marketplace. I've left some resources here on QR codes. Please do feel free to scan them. Paul, I think we'll probably be sharing the deck to attendees at the end of this. Certainly, I'm happy to. Also, yeah, great. I've also forwarded a link here for my LinkedIn profile. Again, using QR code there, I'm constantly updating around MMD and some of our developments around there, or contact me directly on my email address there, iaherd@microsoft.com. So again, with that, thanks so much for your time. As you can see, I'm very excited and very passionate around this service. You know, I haven't been in this space for a long time. You know, what we are seeing really is the advent of cloud logic here with MMD being placed across operational structures around desktop. You know, we see MMD just being a cornerstone of everything we're going to be doing over the next 5 to 10 years with Microsoft. It's obviously a large market opportunity for us, but it's also a fantastic opportunity to accelerate for our customers. And coupled with that, like we did with the Surface business, whatever it is, 6-7 years ago now when we launched Surface, you know, what we're doing here is painting a vision of what desktop managed services should look like in a cloud world. And we hope with that, we're setting a really strong benchmark in the market for others to follow. But certainly in the meantime, we are going to be very committed to MMD. We have a fantastic and exciting roadmap scheduled over the next couple of years, and we look forward to sharing with you those journeys. Thank you. Any questions there, Paul?
Firstly, thank you for that insight into MMD. Would you mind going back to the slide where you show the statistics of pre-MMD to going to MMD? And please feel free in the IM window, please do ask questions. I think there's a number of questions that I can think of, and I'll just quickly ask them here. But for the attendees, please do feel free to pop in some questions here. One thing, when I see this slide, I think that's pretty impressive, going from 87 seconds, and I think that is pretty low for a lot of the customers that we are actually working with. And you mentioned 10 minutes, and that is not always out of the question. You have a spinning drive, a lot of overhead in your SOE. And I love the comment, and I put it in there. I do love the comment around that organizations overspec devices purely based on they have non-optimized endpoints. One thing I think is missing here in this one, Ian, is time to productivity. We work with customers that have anything from a 3-day process on bringing on a new person or replacing an endpoint, anything from 3 days to a couple of weeks. So when we look at getting a new staff on board and they come into the office and you tell them, here is your new device, but don't open it, go down to the post office and you send it off to a partner. 3 days later, they get that device back with a SOE that is not optimized for that endpoint. Yeah. Not a very nice user experience, right? I come into an organization, I want to be productive, I want to start working. But using a service such as MMD is, I give you a new laptop. Within 23 seconds will not be the initial one where you set up your account, but it will be very similar. So what we look at today with Intune, for example, when Autopilot, which is MMD is using, is you would be productive within 5 minutes. So you have your desktop from the initial setup to you starting as a brand new employee in that organization. You will be productive within 5 minutes and have a complete deployed endpoint from Windows up to Windows as a service, Office 365, your line of business applications, and that is within 30 minutes. And this is in a government-based Wi-Fi system, so this is not even a high-speed environment. Yeah. So when we look at the benefits of time to productivity, is just tremendous.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. And maybe if I pull on a couple of examples there, Paul. We're working with one very large financial services organization at the moment who typically, you're picking up, I think, a really valid point. They're looking at a model right now, or working through a model with them that it is actually going even more extreme. So at the moment, it takes them from start to finish. So from a new joiner coming on board to HR putting it in the portal, the joiner portal, to order the devices, for that device to be delivered, and to go through the different hands, whether it's security or the desktop management team internally, is a 65-day process. And then typically it's about another 30 days by the time the user figures out what applications he or she really needs. And obviously that means that often the user turns up to work and is there for 30 days without a device. What we've done is worked with our partners to actually set up a choose your own device portal, that upon joining upon signing joining papers, there's also a link to go into a website where they can select the device that they require, and that device is delivered directly to their house the week before they're due to join the financial services organization. Using the capability that you mentioned there, using Autopilot and also the imageless state that we have with MMD, the end user can then enroll, have all of their applications pushed to them over the internet without having to use corporate network resources. And although they don't get access to those applications until their first day of joining, they can walk into the office, they're immediately connected to their corporate Wi-Fi, and they can work. Or in the modern world, they can start working from home without ever accessing Corp network. So this is a big transformation. This is a really big transformation in terms of employee experience that it really does. MMD is a massive enabler of Intune, of Intune and Autopilot, and really helps transform that operational efficiency. And as you said, the reduction here in time to work is huge, and something we're improving all the time. So again, our guys are absolutely obsessed with boot time. I've being a dumb sales guy myself. There's some incredibly boring conversations that I have with our team around boot time, but the guys literally are obsessed with getting this down further and further.
And when we talk modern workplace, we normally look at two numbers, 80 and 42%. And 80% is around what is it that staff is looking for when they join a new organization. And I think MMD would be a tremendous enabler in how do I attract and retain the best staff possible, like having the right device, the device they prefer to work on, having the applications. And here, I think the flexibility that modern work talks about is my work style where that potentially I need to drop the kids off at school. How do I join a call? How can I have LTE and Teams up and running and configured appropriately? Because today, and especially with COVID now, and I think with COVID, the honeymoon period is over. The time where I could tell my manager, my computer is not working, I don't have connectivity, that honeymoon period is over. The expectation on me working from home is now that I am online. So I can drop my children off at school in the morning. I can take that 9 o'clock call in the car, but I will have appropriate voice, the right codecs, perfect, or at least close to perfect audio, video. I can share my details. I can be heard in those meetings. I'm not just participating, I am actively in there, sharing my views, getting my point across.
Yeah, dead right. And I think just in terms to go back to the earlier point, Paul, I think it's also really important that we also say with Microsoft Managed Desktop and the developments that we've had around our Windows 10 platform is don't think of MMD as something that only applies to new devices. We can retrofit to existing devices as well, so that you can move your entire fleet to Microsoft Managed Desktop, and that's been a big development for us in the past 12 months.
So next steps, Ian, to get our customers onto MMD. Do you want to go back to your last slide again? Sorry for.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as I mentioned, please do check out more here. I know Carly's there, and for certainly for the customers she serves, please do reach out to Carly if you're interested to find out more around Microsoft Managed Desktop. I'd love to support those conversations. You can see the different links here around the Microsoft Managed Desktop blog. There's also the Qualtrics employee sentiment survey that I touched on earlier, and some of the employee experience benefits, and the Forrester TEI study that I mentioned before around some of the operational savings and organizational benefits as a result of Microsoft Managed Desktop. And as you know, Paul, I post regularly on LinkedIn around all things MMD, so please do follow me.
Spectacular. So thank you. I'm just going to, Kylie, would you mind sharing the next step from this is part of our Modern Workplace series, or Modern Work as we are moving into. The next session next week is on business continuity with a platform that we now have that looks at insights to how is your team working. That'll be presented by Kylie Scott Murphy. So down here in the bottom left, you can see we have,
Sorry, Paul, I'm just going back to that slide. There we go.
I should have warned you.
I was just jumping back
you can
to that
stay at this one. You can stay at this one.
There we go.
Yeah. Could you kindly go one up?
Yep. I can share it out.
Okay.
Yeah, we can.
So next week will be on business continuity with workplace analytics, and then after that we'll have how do we do all this with modern management. So again, Ian, sincerely appreciate your time. It is such a great topic. MMD is a fantastic service. So thank you for taking the time to walk us through it.
No, pleasure. Thanks for the time, guys.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone who attended today.
Talk to you later. Thank you, Ian.